We're going to discuss the males and female sports. We're an introduction to a serious issue. A little bit about me. My name is Beth Stelzer. I was born, raised, and still reside in small town Minnesota. I am a wife and mom to a 10-year-old son. And this is a little before and after of me. I found fitness a little later in life. Started with just some 5Ks and kickboxing classes and whatnot, and discovered that I really loved powerlifting. I loved lifting the barbell. So now I can call myself an amateur powerlifter. Why I'm talking to you today. If you don't know what powerlifting is, it's the squat, the bench, and the deadlift. And I trained for months, well, actually a couple of years before I had the courage to sign up for a competition. And then I trained really hard for months, a couple hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week. It was pretty intense. And at my first contest, the 2019 women's state competition, there was a male that was denied access. And he decided to basically ruin the event with a protest. And with all the rumors of this happening, out of 120 women that should have showed up to compete, there was a little over 80. And over 10 of them were protesters. So instead of taking their time to lift the barbell, this is what we heard. The transgender athlete and their friends chanted, "Share the platform" throughout the event, extending the event for hours and really throwing everyone through a loop. And I didn't even know that this really issue existed. And so this competition really kind of threw me down a rabbit hole of realizing, hey, wait, it is totally not fair for males to compete in female sports. And hey, a lot of women's organizations are actually helping males compete in women's sports. That's not right. And also, women are being harassed for speaking out. So that's when I started SaveWomenSports.com as a way to network and resource and just get information out there and help other people feel more comfortable in speaking out. And on our website, you can see that this is not just a couple of people. This isn't just a little red herring of a few males competing. We have over 60 males that have stolen titles compiled on the website from women. And to me, one woman losing out is too many. This isn't just a small issue. This is a major threat. And letting a few people compete, opening up rules is going to be a floodgate that we can't close, and we will lose female sports. Just some quick overview of the biological realities that it comes to sports. There are two sexes and we were created different. Nothing can change that reality. Men have higher bone mass, bone density, bone capacity, larger bone structure. Recovery is easier. I'm sure others will go on and on to this list. Women, we of course know, deal with menses, birth, and menopause, and this is often left out of this conversation, and it is a huge part of it. We also deal with the female athlete triad, which is energy availability, menstrual function, and bone mineral density that can show up as women losing their menstruation, losing bone density, having eating disorders. In the United States here, high school sports, about half of our states allow boys to self-ID onto girls' sports. Now, this affects not only sports, but the locker rooms, bathrooms, showers, and also sports teams travel. So it affects girls staying in hotel rooms with boys, and the teachers don't have to let them know. On a national level in the US, our collegiate level requires hormone replacements, but yet they have not set limits or required any testing. On the international level, the IAAF, also known as World Athletics now, has a testosterone limit of less than 5. And the Olympics in 2020 does not require surgery, and the testosterone limit is set at 10 for a year. They have to keep their limit under 10, which is absurd to me when considering that an average woman is around 0 to 1. The normal range is about 0 to 3. And even with disorders such as polycystic ovarian syndrome, which raise women's testosterone naturally, the level goes up to about 6. So even being 5 or 10 is still pretty high. And we all know that the testosterone is not the only factor. These changes are immutable, and testosterone just cements that. Meet Selena Sewell. Many of you who are familiar with this issue will know her name. She's 18 now, and she has been competing against 2 males in high school track for over 2 years, Terry Miller and Andrea Yearwood. Selena and 3 other girls from Connecticut are now joined in a complaint against the Department of Education with the Alliance Defending Freedom. And we have recently heard from the US Department of Education that Title IX, our law to protect girls in sports, says that it will be enforced on the basis of sex, not gender identity. So the tide is slowly turning here, but it's just a matter of keeping the pressure on. Current administration has also enforced this at the college level, and we'll discuss that in a bit here. But I want you to hear a little bit from Selena.
Selena first saw Andrea race her freshman year.
I saw that she was so far ahead of everyone else, and I thought to myself that this wasn't right. Something is going on here. And then later I found out that that athlete was a transgender female.
These athletes don't always know ahead of time that they are going to be forced to compete against males.
Is there a way for transgender athletes to compete that would be fair, that you would see as fair?
I think there would be a way. I'm not sure what that would be. I'm only 16, so it shouldn't be up to me to decide.
And I love that. It should not be up to these young girls. We all need to step up and do our part. If it's just retweeting a tweet or having that tough conversation with a coach or a family member, it's going to take a grassroots effort to save women's sports. Let's take a look at Terry and Andrea in a race. See if you can spot the boys racing against the girls. Yeah, that's right. It's the 2 in the front. CeCe Telfer is a national women's champion in college in the United States. Was voted the women's most outstanding track performer, lauded as being brave and courageous. Here's CeCe. When CeCe was Craig racing in men's, they ranked in the 200s nationally, now women's champion. Thankfully, with the work of organizations like Concerned Women for America, we have seen the Department of Education reiterate that Title IX will be enforced on the basis of sex, and the college that CeCe attends will no longer be able to have these transgender policies. And then we are waiting for that to be enforced nationwide. In the meantime, there are several states that have submitted legislation to save women's sports, and there have been 2 federal bills, one in the Senate and one in the House, working to save women's sports. We're hoping that after this pandemic, things will move a little faster with that. So let's take a look at CeCe competing. A fun sports fact about this, male hurdles are actually much taller than female hurdles. So for CeCe to transfer from male to female was a lot easier. As I spoke before, many women are getting harassed for speaking out against this. Here's a trans cyclist with a trans painted baseball bat saying, "Smash the system." And here's a notorious activist claiming that Sharon Davies, a renowned Olympic medalist, looks like a transgender person. It gets deeper, saying that they want us to die in a grease fire. I get death threats, although now that I stand in the truth and stay strong and brave, they come less often. This says basically that they have gangland connections and that I need to drown in my own blood and die. The first time that I was able to share my story was speaking out at the Heritage Foundation. And I think it's truly a moment that you can say, speak the truth, even if your voice quakes. I was certainly pretty scared to be on my first live stream event, but there is great power in honesty. And as Magdalene Burns said, I would rather be rude than effing be a liar. So here I am standing in the truth and finally sharing my story. These gender extremists demand that we accept their feelings as science and are attacking basic biology at its core. Women are being silenced by this harassment. I recently received a gruesome death threat for trying to save women's sports. These displays of hate are a prime example of why most are afraid to speak up. Such harassment invokes the very fear that transgender rights activists say they seek refuge from in the very group they demand inclusion in. They bully women, all while claiming to be victims of bullying. I later was able to join Linda Blade outside of the US Supreme Court in DC during a rally, and this is the type of harassment that we faced there. Trans rights are human rights. Trans women are women. While we spoke, these people with megaphones So this is my closing remark today, to hopefully empower you to speak up and to not be silenced.
I am an average American citizen telling you it is time to speak the truth. Defending biology is not bigotry. It is not hate speech to defend your rights. If we allow biological males to compete in women's sports, there will be men's sports, there will be co-ed sports, but there will no longer be women's sports.
Now is the time to speak up. We are the first organization dedicated to preserving female sports for only females. You can visit us at savewomensports.com and also savewomensport.com for our new branch, Australasia. Thank you for joining me today and for this opportunity.